Let's have a chat about self-belief. Self-belief is the trust or the belief in ourselves that we have the skills and abilities to achieve our goals. Self-belief is an incredibly powerful thing. It can either propel us forward or hold us back. And I think we've all experienced periods in our life where our inner voice of self-doubt has told us to stop doing what we're doing, that we can't do it, that we're not good enough. But we can all build greater self-belief, and once we do that, we will be able to achieve our goals. We'll be able to overcome challenges on our way to achieving success. And this is great news because in the history of time, some of the world's greatest achievers have been driven by this sense of self-belief. Let's think about the Wright brothers for a moment. For centuries, people had been toying with the idea of getting humans airborne. In the 1500s, for example, Leonardo da Vinci produced detailed sketches and scientific musings about how this might be possible. But it wasn't until the Wright brothers came along with clear self-belief and an absolute determination to make this happen that air flight became a possibility. In 1903, after years of tinkering and toiling and testing, 𝗿𝗏𝗏 and Wilbur Wright successfully launched the first sustained and controlled airplane. And their success created this raft of self-belief in others for centuries without real clear movement towards this ambition. Suddenly there was this explosion of air flight. By 1904, the first helicopter had been designed. By 1911, aircraft became militarized. And by 1914, the first commercial airliner was launched. In just 11 years, after Wilbur and Orville's success, suddenly others believed that air travel could be a possibility, having been held back in the past, perhaps partly by lack of skills and knowledge, but also lack of self-belief. The Wright brothers' success gave others the self-belief that they needed to achieve what had previously been considered an impossibility. So self-belief is a wonderful thing. Not only can it propel you forwards, but what you achieve will be the spark that ignites in someone else their sense of self-belief too. The great news is that self-belief can be built. And once we've built it, we'll have a much greater chance of being able to achieve our goals. Let's look at a few pointers about how to build better self-belief. The first thing that we can do to build a greater sense of self-belief is to build our self-awareness. Self-awareness really is the bedrock, the foundation of self-belief. When we're self-aware, we're really clear on why we think and act and feel in the way that we do. And when we're self-aware and a self-limiting thought pops into our head, like, I really want that job, but there's absolutely no way I can get it, stop and reflect and think about why you feel the way you do. What is the underlying root of that? Perhaps the underlying root is that you don't yet have the skills to do that job. But if that's the case, then perhaps you can build those skills. Perhaps you can gain the relevant experience if this job is really the job you want. Or perhaps you already have the skills, but you're just not feeling confident enough to apply for the job. What's the source of that lack of confidence? Where does that come from? Is it past experience? All of these things are things that you can work through. When we're self-aware, we understand why we're feeling these negative thoughts. And once we understand why we're feeling them, we can formulate a plan about how to address and overcome them. The second thing that we can do is build knowledge. As Sir Francis Bacon said, knowledge is power. What he missed out in that quote is that knowledge also creates self-belief. The more we know about a topic, about an area of interest, the more we can achieve, the more challenges we can overcome. We need knowledge that's broad and deep. This means that whenever a challenge comes our way, we're much more likely to be able to overcome it. Knowledge also creates this distinction between self-belief and arrogance. Self-belief isn't about having all of the skills and abilities you need right now. It's about understanding what you will need and being prepared to learn. Arrogance is about thinking you already know everything you're ever going to need to know on a subject, and that can never be the case because we're always learning. So self-belief isn't about having everything you could ever possibly need already in your arsenal. It's about being really aware of what you are good at and also really aware of what you still have left to learn. And next, please be kind to yourself. We are often much harsher judges of ourselves than anyone else ever would be. When our inner voice is telling us cruel things, that we can't do it, that we shouldn't do it, that we aren't good enough, stop and pause and reflect and write down things that counteract that argument. Think about your successes and achievements. Think about what you've done well. Think about why you can, why you should, why you must. Be a supporter for yourself. Be your own ally. And finally, be you. This idea of authenticity gets bandied around a lot, but there's real truth in it. It's brilliant to be inspired by other people. The Wright brothers inspired many people, but those people brought their own flavour to ideas around aviation that the Wright brothers hadn't done. When we're being ourselves, we can not only do something similar to what someone before us has done, but we can build on it, we can make it better, we can add our own unique flavour. So be proud of who you are and what you think and how you feel, and bring your beautiful uniqueness to change the world for the better.